Hello, this is Ginny Brant with Unleash Your God-Given Healing. Today we're going to look at something unusual. 5 downsides to prosperity. Could there be such a thing? As a baby boomer, I grew up during some of the most prosperous times in this country. I've reaped many benefits, including a well-rounded college education, comfortable homes with heat and air conditioning, dependable cars, a closet full of clothes, access to top-notch medical care, and food aplenty. To the vast majority of people who live around this world, just having food, clothing, and shelter, no matter how humble, is a blessing. We've been blessed with far more than what we need. We know that there are many upsides to this prosperity, but are there also downsides as well? Well, I've lived long enough to experience all of the positives, but I've also lived long enough to experience some of the negatives. So we're going to talk today about 5 downsides to prosperity that I've discovered through the school of hard knocks. Number 1, we tend to forget God and depend less on Him. When all of our needs are met, we take our blessings for granted and we expect that things will always be this way. Think again. Our nation has prospered for 248 years, and there is a rise and fall to every civilization, and we're no exception. When a nation becomes prosperous, it's inevitable that it will begin to slide down the infamous slippery slope. What made our nation great, our faith in God, is no longer practiced by most people. Our prosperity makes us independent from the loving God who created us and has blessed us with so much. Number 2, we simply become complacent. Complacency is a feeling of quiet pleasure or security, even though signs of danger are all around us. Look everywhere. We see rioting, political parties at polar opposites, a diminishing work ethic, government institutions with political agendas, citizens disillusioned with elected officials, inflation on steroids, and immorality growing as fast as an aggressive cancer. Yes, even when we see all these things around us causing our nation to literally crumble, we tend to ignore the signs as long as we're basking in prosperity. As Chuck Colson said in his book, The Good Life, we have come to see money as the key to pleasure and pleasure as the key to happiness. He also expressed that as long as we are prosperous and at peace, we won't shake the status quo to do anything about it. Number 3, unfortunately, we become sedentary. With our growing dependence on technology and so many inventions doing the work for us, we've become sedentary, lazy. In fact, we can often work from home, adding new meaning to the term couch potato. But we forget that our body needs to move to thrive and maintain good health. To many doctors and scientists, this sedentary lifestyle is as bad as smoking. They call it the new smoking, and it opens the door to many diseases, including cancer, heart disease, and dementia. This lazy living is a known risk factor for every disease we encounter. What do we do about it? We either find ways to exercise daily or we succumb to indolence. Number 4, we become materialistic. Have you noticed There is never enough. We always want more, as the sign language says. More, more, more. Every commercial entices the greed in us to have it all and to have more. We forget to be thankful for the simple things in life. We spend our lives accumulating lots of stuff that we don't need. Scam artists appear everywhere and play on our emotions and desires, and you don't know who to trust. A totally materialistic society is one where greed rules the day and character is trampled by this gotta have it all desire. Individual debt and national debt increase daily. Who would have ever thought our nation would be over $34 trillion in debt? Last year it was $32 trillion and going up every day. U.S. households have a combined total debt of $16.5 trillion. Individually, that comes to about $165,000 per household. According to Experian, only 25% of Americans have no debt. Lastly, we live to eat. Instead of planning our diet to enhance our health, we live in the food aplenty world where we grab whatever satisfies our cravings and addictions. I know, I've been there for many years. As a result, we eat lots of high-calorie foods that contain little, if any, nutrients. This results in high obesity rates, about 1/3 in the U.S., and high overweight rates, about 1/3 in the U.S., and opens the door to many chronic diseases. We are one of the few nations in the world where proportionately more people are overweight. As a result, we have high rates of heart disease, cancers, brain disease, and over 100 autoimmune disorders. Many of these diseases are related to our lifestyle, not genetics. And when diagnosed with one of these diseases, the last place we tend to look is at our diet. And if our doctor happens to mention it, we say, "How dare he?" Abraham Lincoln made 3 proclamations. They came from his second proclamation for a national day of prayer and fasting during the most difficult days of the Civil War. And this is what he said: "We have been the recipients of the choicest bounties of heaven. We have been preserved these many years in peace and prosperity. We have grown in numbers, wealth, and power as no other nation has ever grown. But we have forgotten God. We have forgotten the gracious hand which preserved us in peace and multiplied, enriched, and strengthened us. And we have vainly imagined in the deceitfulness of our hearts that all of these blessings were produced by some superior wisdom and virtue of our own. Intoxicated with unbroken success, we have become too self-sufficient to feel the necessity of redeeming and preserving grace, too proud to pray to the God that made us. It behooves us then to humble ourselves before the offended power, to confess our national sins, and to pray for clemency and forgiveness." Oh my. Here we have history repeating itself. When I read his words, they give me chills. How could we ever forget God? But here we are again. We desperately need God in our world. We are living in a post-Christian world. My father, Harry S. Dent, used to call this prosperity that we suffer from affluenza. We are all suffering from too much of a good thing, he would say. And let us not forget that all blessings and prosperity come at His hands. And we do best when we realize that our prosperities are given to be used for His glory, not ours. Prosperity requires accountability and responsibility and is not a license for greed, selfishness, and addictions. Yes, my friends, there are 5 downsides to prosperity, and we're seeing it more each day in this country. Lord, help us to turn back to You, because it's from You and only You that all blessings flow. Will you join me as we pray for a revival in this nation, as we beg God to forgive us for depending on our prosperity instead of on Him? I hope this message has moved you today. We desperately need God to save our country from ourselves. Please join me as we pray and seek a revival in this land that we love. And may God bless you until the next time we meet again.